So I had announced my resignation back in November, largely due to family reasons, but quite simply couldn't sit on the sidelines.
What's up, you guys, and welcome back. My name's Natasha, and this is Behavior Breakdowns. I'm joined by my co-host, PJ. Today, we are breaking down the body language and behavior of Matt Jeneroux. That's right, another day, another floor crossing. Just in case you forgot, your vote here in Canada actually doesn't matter. Democracy is out the door, MPs are for sale, and we're going to be breaking down the body language and behavior of the floor crossers. Let's see if Jeneroux looks confident in his decision, or let's see if he shows us some signs of insecurity and uncertainty. Let's see if we can spot any signs of stress when he explains his choice.
How are you, Matt? Thanks for coming. Great to be in Edmonton. Yeah. Always great to be in Edmonton, the city of champions here.
The first thing I noticed that's a little weird is that Jeneroux and Carney both come in for that handshake. Carney is the first one extending his hand outward, keeping a pretty neutral position for the handshake. Neutral meaning that his palm is not facing upwards, which would be more submissive, or facing downwards, which would be more dominant. He's keeping his hand pretty level. There's a very brief moment where it's a little bit awkward between Carney and Jeneroux. I really had to kind of slow this down frame by frame, but you can see that Jeneroux holds his position. He's very stiff. Carney actually grabs Jeneroux on the upper arm and pulls him in, kind of indicating like we can hug and that's okay. Whereas Jeneroux has remained fairly stiff, fairly uncertain if they are going to just do a handshake or if it's going to turn into a hug.
Well, I heard it was minus 50 with the wind chill yesterday. It's minus 47.
Yeah,
with the wind chill today. So we're heading in the right direction.
It builds character.
Grow up here. It builds character. That's exactly right. I can remember the cutoff was minus 25 for hockey.
Right.
When you stop playing outdoors.
Had to go inside. Mom and Dad said had to go inside.
Exactly.
Carney doing his classic hand position, which I've talked about so many times on the channel. When we can't see the hands, when the hands are hidden behind the back, it does tend to indicate to us that we might have a reason to be suspicious of somebody. We have a biological internal sense that that person might be hiding something. They might be concealing a weapon. So we like to see the hands, and Carney often, unfortunately, stands with his hands hidden behind his back. Jeneroux starts by standing with his hands folded out in front, which is a better position, I think, than the hands behind the back. We do see Jeneroux starting to adapt a little on his hands. He's starting to kind of self-soothe. Now, he could have an itch. Perhaps his hands are cold. They're discussing the climate here. But usually when we see self-soothing gestures, somebody is trying to help calm and regulate their nervous system. Self-soothing gestures or pacifying behaviors are a repetitive motion, usually involving some self-touch, because self-touch releases oxytocin, helping to calm the nervous system down in stressful situations.
Let me say, first off, welcome, Matt. Welcome to the government team. It's a great honor to be on the same team as you at a crucial time for this city, for this province, for this country. Matt brings a wealth of experience despite his young demeanor. He brings a wealth of experience.
We have Jeneroux scanning his hand across the paper, looking pretty bored, to be perfectly honest. His posture is very slumped forward here. I have a feeling he probably didn't want to do this press conference. He probably wanted to silently and quietly switch sides and not have to deal with any of the press around it. We have some mouth grooming gestures going on when Carney says Matt brings a wealth of experience. We can see Jeneroux doing a bit of mouth grooming there. Sometimes when people feel stress or even indifference, we might see them start to play around and do different things with their mouth. Sometimes the tongue pokes around. Sometimes they do different lip pursing gestures. So we see a little bit of that happening for Jeneroux, particularly around when Carney says a wealth of experience.
First became a member of the Legislative Assembly here in Alberta in 2012. Yeah, and then elected 4 consecutive times as an MP. Edmonton River Bend, I know it well.
Watch Jeneroux closely here when Carney says elected 4 times consecutively as an MP.
Then elected 4 consecutive times as an MP. Edmonton River Bend, I know it well.
We have that big exhale, we have the eyebrows raise, and we have some more mouth grooming gestures happening. It's a cluster of change for Jeneroux. It's a change from his baseline so far in this interview or this press conference. When we see clusters of change like that, multiple body language gestures happening at the same time, and a deviation from someone's baseline, it's a good indicator that stress is starting to mount in the body.
I know it well from my time growing up, although it's changed a fair bit since I was when I was here, and a lot of parliamentary experience, including as on the international side, on the security side. So, vice chair of the Canada-UK Parliamentary Association, founder.
The camera operator is doing a great job here. This is another interesting moment when we have this close-up of Jeneroux and we can see, to me, what actually looks like sadness come across his face. Maybe it's a feeling of defeat. Maybe there's some part of him internally that knows he's made some decisions which will impact his career. Maybe he feels like he sold his soul a little bit. He doesn't look super engaged. He's not nodding in agreement with what Carney's saying. His posture doesn't reflect someone who feels good about their decision.
On the international side, on the security side. So, vice chair of the Canada-UK Parliamentary Association, founder of a very important parliamentary association, Canada-ASEAN.
I have a lot of mouth shrugging going on. That's that gesture that Jeneroux is making there with his mouth when the lips are turned downwards like that. It's usually an indicator of indifference or uncertainty. It's similar to a shoulder shrug, but it's happening with the mouth. Jeneroux does kind of have that look to him like he's a villain from a superhero movie. Well, here's where it's going to get interesting. Let's see what Jeneroux has to say when he talks about why he switched sides.
Well, thank you Ray, for coming here to a cold day in Edmonton, but especially you, Prime Minister. It is a real pleasure to have you here in Edmonton. You're always welcome in Edmonton, and we have a lot of history, both of us here in Edmonton, and it's a beautiful part of our country. So I had announced my resignation back in November.
Start off with that big eyebrow raise from Jeneroux. Now, eyebrows raise for a number of different reasons: surprise, fear, disbelief. Often eyebrows also raise around social recognition, social approval, and social connection. I can tell that Jeneroux has mentally rehearsed this statement, if not verbally rehearsed it. But what gives it away is that he says, I had to resign in November. We do see some body language around that. You see a very subtle hand gesture there. The hands actually just come apart very briefly. I see that gesture. I know that it's a condensed and compressed version of this.
So I had announced my resignation back in November.
So there is some uncertainty in that statement for Jeneroux. Now, is the uncertainty around the truth of the statement, or is the uncertainty around how that statement will be perceived by everybody else? I'll leave that up to you guys. Write it in the comments below what you think.
Back in November, largely due to the family reasons, but quite simply couldn't sit on the sidelines after seeing what the Prime Minister was, the ambitious agenda he was undertaking across the country and across the world.
Jeneroux says largely due to the family reasons. So the family is not personal. It's not my family. It's not due to family reasons, not due to my personal family reasons. The family. Really interesting and definitely worth paying attention to. It's a bit of distancing language. It's a bit of a disassociation from something personal. He also says quite simply couldn't sit sit on the sidelines.
But quite simply couldn't sit on the sidelines.
Now he takes out the I from that statement. Again, distancing, depersonalizing everything to do with the reason why he made this decision. The family couldn't sit on the sidelines. So he's taken himself away from the emotion of this decision. There's also good evidence to suggest that people who are telling the truth use more first-person references because they are engaged with the actual experience. People who are trying to distance themselves from a particular event tend to use the word I less because they don't want to be associated with it. They don't want the connection to the personal.
And quite honestly, it was the speech in Davos where you took everything head on, and I think for me that's where a lot of the world changed. I think it opened a lot of eyes for Canadians, Albertans, Edmontonians, just how serious this national unity crisis truly is.
So when Jeneroux says, quite honestly, it was the speech in Davos, we have the hands apart again. He turns to Carney and he subtly shakes his head no. And we also have the hands then returning to grip on the pen. Oftentimes we turn to body language because it reveals our true thoughts and feelings. When our words are saying something, oftentimes our body language says the opposite, and it can reveal some of the truth. If it really were the speech in Davos, I would expect to see some agreement happening. I would expect to see the head nodding in agreement, confirming the words that Jeneroux is saying, but instead we see the head shaking no. That's super interesting and to me very revealing. It's a bit of incongruency in body language, and when we have incongruency, when the gestures aren't matching the words, that's usually a good indicator that there is some deception happening.
And it's, for me, it felt disingenuous and quite simply wrong to be sitting on the sidelines anymore. So I reached out to the Prime Minister's office and will be joining his caucus, and I couldn't be more proud to take this too.
Excellent. Fantastic.
Thank you guys.
Alors, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. We got work to do. Then we got to
Okay, guys, thank you.
We definitely have a bit of fading facts there. Scott Rouse from the Behaviour panel talks about fading facts being when somebody is making a statement and it starts to kind of trail off. It gets really quiet towards the end.
I reached out to the Prime Minister's office and will be joining his caucus, and I couldn't be more proud to take this.
And that's because they don't feel complete certainty or confidence in what they're saying. There might be some deception involved. So be mindful of that when you hear someone start to trail off. I don't think Jeneroux is the right person to be talking about disingenuine feelings. I'm certain that the people of his riding feel very wronged in all of this, so probably not the best choice of words for him. But he gives us his explanation, and that is that he saw Mark Carney's speech in Davos and the world changed for him. Now, he does say, I reached out to the Prime Minister's office. That is very different than what Michael Ma had said in his statement. Michael Ma, if you remember, he kind of treaded around this idea of conversations taking place ahead of time. Perhaps Jeneroux got word that there might be a good deal in it for him. There might be an extra bump in his salary or perhaps a better position. Now, when I think back to Michael Ma's statement and the interview that he did after his floor crossing, there are some notable differences. Michael Ma's rationale was that it would be better for his constituents if he was aligned with the ruling government.
I believe that we are better served when we are with the governing party.
He also had said that there had been some approaches, very non-specific in terms of who approached who. When I compare that to Jeneroux here, Jeneroux looked very defeated. He looked a little bit more uncertain about his decision. It does seem like there's a lot of feelings of uncertainty for him. If somebody truly felt like that was the right thing to do, even though they knew it would have some backlash, we would expect to see a bit more confidence in their demeanor, a bit more security in their body language. And I don't think we saw that here for Jeneroux. But Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I know a lot of you had asked for Jeneroux. I hope this breakdown made some sense of that interview and that press conference for you guys. I'm always open to suggestions on who you want to see me break down next, so feel free to write it in the comments below if you have ideas. As always, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you want to go the extra mile and show just a little bit more support for the channel, you can consider becoming a channel member by selecting the join button down below. You can cancel at any time. There are 3 different tiers, all with their own exclusive perks, and it's just a little extra way to show support to myself as a content creator and to help the channel grow. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, spring is on the way. Daylight savings time is around the corner. I hope you guys all have a good week ahead, and I will see you on the next one. Bye. Oh, wow, that's a stinky breath. What do you have to say? What do you think about Matt Jeneroux? Huh? What do you think? Oh, you don't like him? You're distancing? Okay, my goodness. Bye.